Twilly-dilly-dee, 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 tweet, 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 tweet.
She talks to the people all night long, chatting and a-gabbing and a-singing her song. All the divas down on Rainbow Street love to hear Toni go tweet, tweet, tweet. Talking Toni.
Tweet, tweet,
Talk, talking Toni.
tweet, twilly-dee,
Oh, talking Toni really gonna talk tonight.
tweet, twilly-dee.
Hello, everyone. I'm Toni Homeperm, the singing diva of Long Island. And thank you for joining me on another episode of Talking Toni here on the Strong Island Entertainment Network. Joining me tonight, two very special guests. They are the co-hosts of TriVersity Talk. And they are Stephen Bloomer-Teague and Wendy Stewart Kaplan. I have to say, I feel like I need a third name now. I mean, you both have three names. I only have two.
Oh my God.
I feel like I'm at a disadvantage here.
True confession. I never took my husband's name. I never hyphenated my husband's name. So my name is Stephen Teague, but Stephen Bloomer-Teague, it just has more umph. So
It
And
does.
I call myself Wendy Stewart Kaplan because I was Wendy Stewart, but he's Stephen Bloomer-Teague. So I need to have three names too, right?
Right,
And
you've
then
got to balance out.
Yeah, we have to balance out. And
You have
Kaplan is my husband's name. So
That's right. So
there you go.
there you go. I didn't take my husband's last name, so we didn't bother with that. I don't
So
know why.
your real last name is Homeperm.
That's right. That's right. And he is the wig wizard. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me tonight. I'm very excited to have you here. It's kind of a rare situation because you both do the same thing that I do with a talk show / interview show, but tonight you two are the guests. So
Stephen, aren't we loving this? We're like
I'm loving life right now.
so amazing. We can kick back.
That's right.
All the technical difficulties are in your court, Toni.
Exactly. Something goes wrong, it's on you.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I have Bobby in the background, so he has to worry about if anything goes wrong. I can just sit here and look pretty. That's all I want to do.
And
Well, that's the American dream.
Yeah.
Wendy, coming from you being a model, I'm quite honored, for you to say that. But
Thank you. I'm glad you have platinum hair, like you matched me tonight, which is great.
Actually, you know what? Well, my background is a little dark, but the background is pink. The dress is blue. And I've got my little white jacket. I'm trying to represent the transgender flag tonight because as we all know, November 20th will be the Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought, I do want to talk about that a little bit, but before we get into that, I want to explain to any of my viewers that are not familiar with TriVersity Talk exactly what is TriVersity Talk. If either one of you want to jump in and take that.
Steven, you want to
explain
put your 2 cents in, and then I'll put my 2 cents in.
Perfect.
Sure. I mean, I guess the best way to explain TriVersity Talk is almost to explain its history because
Please.
Our director of kind of gender services sends me a message on Facebook and she says, I think we should do a talk show. And she said, I think we should do open casting for the host position, which I thought was rather silly. I was like, we're not that fancy. But the goal was, to interview someone as part of our LGBTQ community every week to kind of highlight certain issues that the community is dealing with. And at first we were just going to start at a little 30-minute thing, and then it's kind of expanded to an hour. And it's been so wonderful. I mean, I've learned a lot from doing it because we've had so many diverse guests who have talked about many diverse topics.
Yes, you have.
It's real. Thank you for saying that, Toni. And to chime in with what Stephen said, my background is hosting. And when Stephen said they were going to have an open call for hosts for this show, I'm like, excuse me, what am I, chopped liver? And
What am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, what am I, chopped liver?
Chopped liver.
Between the two of us, it's been very, very educational. It's been fun. I have to give a shout out here to Simone Krause, who is on our board. She's the vice president. Simone has found some fantastic guests, but so have Stephen and I. You know, it's, as you know, Tony, it's about collaboration. And I think we all collaborate well. There's so many amazing people in our LGBTQ community, from politics to entertainment to nurses, and then some. And we've had on people from just about any kind of profession you can think of. But the thing that we do look for, they've got to be able to advocate, educate, and entertain. Not intentionally, just in terms of who they are, because at the end of the day, and even you, Tony, when you have people on, what are we doing? We're communicating. We've got to get our messages out there. They're important. And to me, we're all activists. I can't think of a better way to be an activist than to do this kind of thing.
I agree 100%. You know, I've always felt that, you know, myself, just doing this, even if I'm not being like an activist, just
Right.
being out there in, you know, in the public is showing, you know, everyone, you know, well, here I am, you know, I'm a gay male, I'm a drag queen entertainer, but, you know, I'm just a human being, just like anyone else. And, you know, I think it's an important thing to do. Now,
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask, now, TriVersity Talk is a talk show that has your home base really is the TriVersity Center.
Yes.
So now, Stephen, you are the executive director. Am I correct?
I am.
Oh, hoitsy
I
toitsy.
know. You don't need a
Stephen-
barrel or anything, but I mean, be awe-inspired.
You also are a what was it? A lumbersexual and a fan of figure skating.
I am, and notice I'm bringing that lumbersexual realness tonight. That was deliberate, and yes, a big fan of figure skating. Was watching a figure skating video before I signed on here. You know, normally I'm a big fan of the underdog, but I find myself lately wanting to watch video or figure skating videos about the favorites who win, because that makes me think of like what I want in real life to happen. So,
you know, I used to be a much more a bigger follower of figure skating, and just everything is so crazy. I don't really have time. My all-time favorite figure skater was Sasha Cohn. I thought.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I thought she was just, when she was on the ice, when she wasn't like cracking under the pressure and falling, but like to watch her on the ice, she was like ethereal. I just thought she was like the greatest skater ever when she was on her game.
but I mean, I think Peggy Fleming once said she was the greatest practice skater to ever take the ice because, as you said, she got under pressure. She couldn't handle it. I mean, Michelle Kwan wasn't nearly as talented as Sasha Cohen, but repeatedly beat her because she had that grit and that fire and that focus that unfortunately Sasha just could not bring when it mattered most.
And I
want to jump in here with Brian Boitano. What about Brian Boitano? I love Brian Boitano. Oh, tepid. Tony is tepid. And Steve, you're not like, Brian Boitano didn't float your boat?
I mean, that was 1988. I mean, so I love Brian Boitano's 1988 Olympic free skate. I think was one of the greatest free skates. I mean, to do that under that kind of pressure and to beat Brian Orser on home ice. I mean, that was pretty amazing, but no Sasha Cohen.
No.
That's Cohen, really. I love Michelle Kwan. And Nancy Kerrigan, I love Nancy Kerrigan. And Stephen, did you watch it when, you know, it was Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan and that whole thing happened?
The whole world watched.
Well, I know, Tony, you would remember it, but maybe Stephen was an embryo.
I was old enough. That's really what started my love of figure skating. I mean,
the drama.
and that whole controversy. And interestingly
Yeah.
enough, Michelle Kwan was the alternate.
That's right. That's right.
I still complain. So what happened to Nancy happened. Tanya won the nationals. Michelle came in second. So
Right.
they take away the national title from Tanya, as well they should. Now, I've learned from watching pageants for many a year that the first runner-up takes the winner's place. But U.S. Figure Skating said, no, we're just not going to have a national champion that year. And if they had awarded that to Michelle Kwan, she would have won the most national titles of anybody right now.
Wow. Steven really knows his stuff. You
He
should
does.
be calling out the numbers like 6.5,
Right?
8, right?
I love it. I can't lie.
Steven loves it.
But I do have to apologize. I got off on a skating tangent, but I can't help. But
You're fine with us, so we love tangents, Tony. We're all about tangents.
that's the way my mind works. But I
Okay.
did want you to tell everyone about the TriVersity Center.
Well, Steven is at the center right now. So, Steven, why don't you look at our beautiful center? Go. You
Yeah,
tell
I
us.
mean, you know, I mean, the TriVersity Center, I mean, we kind of have a trifold mission statement. I mean, and the fact that we're called TriVersity, that was really just coincidental. But I mean, our primary mission is to provide a safe space, which is this
Right.
physical space I'm in now, that's meant to welcome, support, and empower the tri-state LGBTQ plus community. I mean, we sit basically on the border between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and
Right.
New York. And, you know, we have a lot of people who live here who take part in the center and our services, but we also have a lot of New Yorkers or, you know, weekenders who come
Absolutely.
and also need a community center like TriVersity. So we're definitely happy to be here
Mhm.
and fulfilling that role.
I'm very proud of our center. I have been there from the beginning. Our center was started by Patty Tomaszewski, and I was one of the original people that was part of that group. I am the only one left. We were originally called the Upper Delaware GLBT, not LGBT, which I never found out. People were always saying, no, you need to say LGBT. No, we were the GLBT, UDGLBT. And I used to say, UDGLBT, hold the mayo. I'll take my medium rare. It was just too much to say. And then Carrie and Chris became our executive directors, and they decided they wanted to do a name change. And I didn't 100% want to do it, but I came up with the name TriVersity because, as Steven said, we service the tri-state area. And I'm very proud of what we not only do for the LGBTQ community, but what we just do, right, Steven, for the community. People love our center and they love our organization. We have a lot of allies. And I think, you know, that speaks volumes. And even a lot of the allies, they love coming to our events. And, you know, that's what we're there to do. And we service our community. We've got, you know, support groups, information. Steven's at tables every time there's any kind of event. We really are reaching out there. We have people that lead up our groups. And, you know, going forward, COVID could have really, like, our little non-for-profits all could have been squashed with this. And yet we have managed, you know, Steven is brilliant. Who could come up with a talent show in the middle of this pandemic? And when he told me when did we do this? This was April.
It was
You
April.
did it? I'm like, that's a crazy ass idea. You're going to put the whole thing on Zoom. How the heck are you going to do that? Because it was just in the beginning and people weren't so savvy with that. He produced the whole thing on Zoom. And I got to tell you, not only was it flawless, what it did for people mentally, and, you know, you could Venmo the performers, you could donate to TriVersity. I was so proud of our organization that night. I have to tell you, it's a matter, and there's lessons to be learned in all of this, no matter what is going on in the world. And we were talking about this before we started tonight.
Yes,
You all know
yes.
no matter what is going on with the world, guess what? You have your focus and you've got to move forward. You can't let it derail your intention.
Very true. Now, let me ask both of you, how did each of you initially become involved? let me ask Stephen. Let me ask you first. How did you become involved with TriVersity?
Well, my husband Richard and I, we moved up here in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to a couple of TriVersity events. It was UDGLBT back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right as Patty Tomaszewski, our first executive director, was leaving. So we didn't really get a chance to get to know her. But, Chris and Carrie were great. And, we went to events and did our own thing. I mean, I'm a pretty shy person. I don't play one well on TV, but... and then, so I was just kind of going through the motions, going to the events, and then something really tragic happened. My mom contracted stage 4 lung cancer and then passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought that was going to take me out, like, oh, I can check out of everything now. But instead, I got my grit together and I had this pocketbook sale. My mom had all these, kind of nice, Coach, Dooney and Burt purses, and I got all the purses together and we had a pocketbook sale, a silent auction. And Wendy was like the face of my silent auction.
Uh-huh.
And from there, I guess Wendy was like, oh, Stephen can organize things and produce things.
Tell Tony the name of it. It was Patty's Pocketbooks.
Patty's Pocketbooks, yeah.
Uh-huh.
My mom's name's Patty.
Oh.
And Wendy said, oh, you should be on the board. And I was like, oh, should I? And the rest really was history, because once I got in, then I gave it my all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here I am.
And here you are. And Wendy, how did you initially become involved with TriVersity before it was TriVersity?
Well, if you know my history, right? We were huge.
Well, I have to point out, Wendy, you're an actress, a comedian, a model, a producer, author of She's the Last Model Standing. You have your whole other show, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy.
Oh my God. Thank you for the plug, Tony. You're fabulous. But back in the 80s,
yes,
when all of my friends were dying of AIDS, my husband and I, we weren't married then, but we were all losing our friends. And we were part of an AIDS organization and on the board of that called POWERS, Pet Owners with AIDS Resource Service. And we serviced that organization up until when they came out with the cocktails. There was no longer a need for us. We took care of the pets of anyone that had HIV or AIDS.
Oh.
So that brings us, into the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was looking for something. The GMHC was big. And I like to be a part of things where I can have some kind of effect. I'm not the kind of girl that can get lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward, Patty blew into town.
By the way, same.
Oh, well, I know that about you. Right. We are very similar, sister. So Patty blows into Milford, Pennsylvania. She was from New Jersey. I didn't know her. She saw the need for this LGBTQ. And we met her at one of our art galleries, Upfront Gallery over in Port Jervis, New York. She was talking to Alan and I, my husband, who is equally as much of an activist as I am. And we liked what she had to say. We saw the need also. So from the very beginning, I wanted to help with, start this organization. Mm-hmm. And we did. And it was 11 years ago, right? It's 11 or 11? 11. Mm-hmm. 11. We had our 11th anniversary. And it's really funny. Like, this is my weekend place, Milford, but yet in so many ways, I feel like I live there. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if I didn't have TriVersity, I'm not the kind of person that can just go out to a place on the weekend and have a cocktail, garden, have dinner party. That's not my MO. I have got to be doing. I've got to be producing. And, now like having this TriVersity talk show, we put a lot of PR behind it. I have big plans for that as well, because I want to keep creating and keep doing, Tony. And I know you can totally connect with that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And now let me ask, when you two first met, was there did you just immediately click? Because you have great on camera chemistry.
I would say No, I mean, again, Wendy and I are very polar opposites in personalities in a lot of ways. She's
So
very
maybe then you're the yin to her yang.
But it takes a while to realize you're the yin to someone's yang. I mean, I just saw this woman who's larger than life dancing in the middle of the room during this first Friday. I was like, oh, she's fabulous. But, we didn't really talk much. It really was the pocketbook sale where we started dealing with each other more and more. And then, then we did realize we were yin to each other's yang, and the rest was history.
But you know what? I saw it in Stephen. We started doing these live talent shows, and Stephen and I co-hosted it. And Stephen, I remember you telling me that you didn't do that sort of thing. And I remember turning to you and saying, "You're freaking brilliant at this. You're great." See, a lot of times, I'm a performer, and I've been doing it my whole life. But often you find these untapped jewels. Stephen's background is law. He can sing incredibly and play the piano incredibly. But he wasn't out there with his shingle saying, I'm a performer. And what I saw on that stage as the co-host, and may I add producer of that first live talent show that we did, I'm like, this guy is like brilliant. What I look for untapped sources. Anyone will tell you that about me. And I roll the dice with a lot of them because there's some of them you can put your energy into and they disappoint you. Stephen is just, and I'm going to sing your praises right here. Really, really incredible. I love co-hosting the show with you. We are a really good balance. So there you go.
Wow. There you have it. There you have it. Yeah. Yes, I do another show with a very famous co-hostess, Alexis Flame.
Love her.
I love Alexis, and actually Alexis is Wendy. She's going to be a guest on Pandemic Cooking
next week. We are taking at Alexis's house.
That's right.
And we're having two dinner guests.
We're
having Jed Ryan and Joey Aiello come on.
I love
dinner.
them.
But Alexis and I are going to be cooking in Alexis's kitchen. So that's going to be an absolute stitch.
And it's going to be a tight squeeze.
I'm up for it.
I know. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see it.
We'll have fun.
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. You're gonna have so much fun. Now, let me ask, Stephen, you initially were doing. It wasn't actually TriVersity Talk. I was going through the videos, and you were doing like these little promos. And what led to forming this dynamic duo?
Well, I mean, what I'd say is kind of what Wendy said. When we did a couple of years ago, we did our first live talent show, and again. It always seems like these things, I kind of get conscripted because it was like, Wendy's going to be the host. And then next thing I know, I'm the co-host.
You're the co-host.
So, and really, again, that was the first time we noticed we had good chemistry with one another. And we then did another live talent show and then a number of different things at different events. We would go up when we would do announcements and stuff. We'd go up together. We would banter with each other, and people were like, "Wow, you two are really good together." And and ultimately, when we decided to do this talk show, it really made sense that we would do it together.
And I know it's especially you do your show weekly. This is like I alternate. This is bi-weekly, and I alternate with. Naughty or Nice with Alexis. So but weekly is it's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. I mean, you have, getting a guest for, each week and, doing research and all those things.
Honestly, you know what? I would have, if you had talked to me a year ago and said that, I would have been, oh my God, how I cannot believe Stephen handles, when we come into the center, he handles the technical part. I am not great at that. I'm the first to admit. But the whole thing of booking the guest, if I think I don't have someone, I'll reach out to Simone. And all of us know enough people. And I have no filter. So I have no problem calling up someone, introducing myself. And it doesn't matter where they are in the country. Because guess what? All of us now, we have access to anyone, anywhere, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How cool is that?
I know.
Days where the guest has to be in your studio. So we can get anyone from anywhere. And I love the preliminary of figuring out who the person is going to be. Then I get their bio and their picture and, just reading about them. And then often I'll do a Google as well to get more information. And I'm the first to admit, if they're from the entertainment background or arts, those are a piece of cake.
Oh, yes.
Whenever we have on like people that are politically connected, and I always tell Stephen that's really, he's so up on the Supreme Court and all that stuff. I'm not. That's not my thing, but I can read and I have a photographic memory.
Oh,
and plus,
you.
I love people, so I love learning about people. So I got to tell you, it's a pure joy, Tony, and it doesn't feel like it's any work. For me, the most work is when we do the tech rehearsal, usually Thursday at 11:30. I still have such anxiety. Even like tonight, I was texting you, oh my God, the link's not working. Right, Stephen, that's the difference in our ages. I see you. You're not worried about that. If one thing's not working, you're on there, your fingers fly across that keyboard. I'm paralyzed in fear that the link isn't working. God bless you, Tony. You have that Bobby there.
I know. I need a Bobby in my life.
Everyone,
Stephen.
Everyone, they either need a Bobby in the background or they need a Frank like my husband to do the hair.
Oh,
those two things are the secret to my success. I would have to say.
Well, it's working for you. I have to say too. Look at you. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. On that note, we are going to take just a short break for our sponsors, but I want everyone to stick around. We're going to have a lot more to discuss with Stephen Bloomer Teague and Wendy Stewart Kaplan from TriVersity Talk. We'll be right back after these messages. Hello, everyone. Thanks for returning to Talking Tony with me, Tony Holmperm, and my very special guests, interviewers and talk show hosts in their own right, Stephen Bloomer Teague and Wendy Stewart Kaplan. Sometimes only just Wendy Stewart, of TriVersity Talk. Yes. So, we've been talking about TriVersity Talk and how the TriVersity Center and all those things and how it came together. Now you've had a lot of varied guests on the show. You had let's see, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Jay McBride, who is a comedian who happens to be transgender.
Thank you for saying it that way.
I didn't want to say transgender comedian or trans comedian. She's a comedian who just happens to be trans.
She's hilarious.
And
She
hilarious.
she was so funny. I mean, she was a great guest. But then you've had like Jason Landau Goodman, who is executive director of the Pennsylvania Youth Congress. You had a common friend of ours, Francisco, who's a trans activist and entertainer. Elizabeth Geitz, an author. You had Ike Cavelli. And of course, we shared the same guest, Flavio Alves.
That was so funny.
Love Flavio.
Flavio, the director of The Garden Left Behind, and I have to talk to you guys about The Garden Left Behind.
Yeah, beautiful film.
That movie, oh my God, that movie just, I just, it just, it killed me. It really, I mean, I love it. It's such an incredible movie. I feel like everyone should see that movie.
I agree.
I agree too.
I mean, it was just such an incredible, moving experience.
You really do feel like you are walking in Tina's shoes throughout that entire movie. And I felt like I could identify with her experience, which speaks well to her as an actress, but also to the screenplay and the directing.
Absolutely.
It was a beautiful, very, very tragic film. And, without giving the ending away, I think for me, part of what affected me was I didn't want that ending to be that ending.
I know.
Right. I understood why it had to. But in my little, rose-colored world, I didn't want it to go that way. But, we're talking about Trans Day of Remembrance here, November 20th. Yes. That film really fits into it because that is often the fate. Mm-hmm. And that is why we say the name's November 20th. Yes. And I love the fact that he put the film out there. When you do that kind of film, you have to be 100% committed because you are taking a chance.
Yes.
But he chose the subject, chose all the players that were in that film, and the result was really an amazing experience. It is available on all platforms. If anybody's
That's right.
A Garden Left Behind by Flavio Alves. You can get it on Amazon or any of the other platforms. Highly recommended film. You will be so intrigued and just left a different person. Wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yes. I know, like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending, I'm very rarely surprised, because I've seen so many movies. I'm like always guessing like the ends and what's going to happen. But this was one movie where I literally gasped. I literally gasped. That's how affecting it was. And but also Flavio, what a great guy he is. He was an amazing guest for the two of you. He was an amazing guest for me here on Talking Tony, I have to say.
Oh, he was adorable.
He's adorable, and he's got a ton of energy, and it's always great. Listen, as hosts, all of us, you get all different kinds of guests, and a great host is able to bring out the best in everybody. Mm-hmm. But Flavio is he's a no-brainer. The stories are there. The personality's there. The energy's there. And Tony, I'm sure, and I want to share this here.
Yes, please.
Finance the movie on eBay.
eBay, yes. I didn't know that.
And Tim Moss, who had a part
Tim.
of the film and is a friend of Flavio's, said, and I love this story, every time he would go to meet Flavio for either auditioning or to follow up or whatever, Flavio was in a bigger and bigger office because there was more and more merchandise.
Stuff. Yes, that's right. Oh yes, that's so true. But yes, he was an amazing guest on both our shows, and I just love that movie so much. I feel that that will remain as as far as LGBTQ movies, that's gonna remain as one of the best all time LGBTQ themed movies, in my opinion.
But you know what, Tony and Steven, wouldn't it be great if the day comes when we don't have to have all those letters attached to that film, when people say it's classically an amazing film in its own right? It's like the way you described Jane McBride. She's a comedian who happens to be
happens
trans.
to be trans.
You know, I go back and forth, and I talk about this with Stephen all the time, the letters, LGBTQ+. Totally get why we need them.
Yes.
But I often feel, you know, I want to see a world where we don't have to have those letters at all, where people can just be who they are.
Yes. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about, which I love that you do it, when you bring one of your guests on, you always have like their preferred pronouns, like along with their name. So, you know, what made you decide to, I feel it's a great idea. What made you decide to, purposely put that there?
Honestly, that is the guest preference. We don't.
Oh, okay.
We don't require it. I love it when a guest does it. And I'm often, Wendy and I have our names together. So that might be a little much to go across the screen, but it's important. I mean, we had our guest last week who really talked about, pronouns are really a sign of showing respect.
Right.
And to be able to know those pronouns and to know that is important to people. I mean, it's great awareness. And again, you can show people the respect they deserve instead of having to second guess yourself and say, am I saying the right thing?
And this is what I mean by being a great host. Stephen had decided, we had Julie Gray Owens on from Gender Equality New York, based out on the island. And Stephen said, we never really talk with any of our guests about the pronouns. And Stephen said, I'm going to put that out there with her. She'd be a good person to talk about this with. And I did love that she, really emphasized how important really respecting somebody and using the correct pronoun for that person. We brought up the they. They is often, it's a hard one for me. I have to always stop and think, and I'll often just use the person's, name, because I can't get the they out. I came up with one called use. If you're Italian and you're from the Bronx, right?
Use.
I want that incorporated. But Stephen had an idea that we should have this pronoun discussion, and I think it was really, really important. It does show respect.
Yes, absolutely. One of my previous guests, a YouTuber, Nathaniel, Council of Geeks on YouTube. And Nathaniel has, up until just very recently, would go by all of them, he, she, they. But then just recently did a video where she decided she only wanted to be either she or they. And when we were talking, and I accidentally said he, and I was just like, oh, I got, I'm so sorry. I'm like, please forgive me, because I would never, ever purposely misgender anyone. And Nathaniel was just like, no, it's okay, I understand. And I was just, but I felt terrible. I honestly did, because I mean, and it was just one of those stupid mistakes. But
it's happened. I mean,
it happened.
It sometimes makes no sense. I mean, I've been introduced to someone as a trans woman, and I don't know. Sometimes it's in the knowing, and then all of a sudden you use the wrong pronoun, and it's like, what's wrong with me?
I know.
Why did I do that? But the only thing you can do is forgive yourself, move on, make a note of it, and don't do it again.
Absolutely. But,
well, you know what? My husband frequently messes up with those pronouns. And I got it to Stephen. Sometimes I want to kill him. Stephen is hurt. I do. Because you know what? He's been around me long enough. It's not that hard. Okay, I may give him a pass on the they. Okay. But try. All right. But the other pronouns, it's not that hard. So I wanted to invent a pronoun stun gun. What do you think? It says the wrong pronoun.
We'll just get a taser.
A taser, or like a dog. The dog collars and
yes.
Because it's important. The pronouns are important.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Now let me ask. I revealed like one of my faux pas. What's something that has on TriVersity Talk that you would consider a faux pas that's happened to either of you?
I would say for me, we did, as you mentioned, we had Elizabeth Geitz as one of our guests, and she is a theologian. So we talked about, of course, the LGBTQ population and how that's reflected in the Bible. And I kept using the term homosexuality. And I mean, I used it a lot. And when I got home and thought about it, I was like, even though that's what I've always heard when you're talking about the Bible and being gay, I'm like, that term is not really in vogue anymore. And I was like, I wish I didn't use it like 1,000 times during the interview.
Well, you could have said sodomite.
Oh, I love that.
It could be worse.
Steven, you have to remember that for the next time. I love the sodomite. That's great.
Yes.
I'd be showing my age with that one.
I think that's a great word. See, and it's funny, Steven, because I didn't even pick up that night any of that. To me, you were so well-versed in an area I'm not well-versed in at all. I was not raised. My mom was Protestant. My dad was Jewish. I didn't come from any kind of heavy religious background whatsoever. I have very little knowledge of the Bible, other than the kind of stories that you've heard as a kid, like Noah's Ark and the burning bush. That's my extent. So I didn't even pick up on the fact that you felt you overused that. I learned, as a matter of fact, listening to you and Reverend Geist that night, I learned a lot, which was really great.
Yeah, I mean, again, and thinking on it, it's not, there are worse things I could have done.
Oh, absolutely.
But in the end, the goal is to teach people and to say, as a teaching moment right now, homosexual is a little clinical. So if you want to call somebody gay or a lesbian or anything like that, use that over homosexual.
Very good. And Wendy, anything that happened that you felt was like a faux pas or anything like that,
I honestly never feel, because my questions or discussion is always out of curiosity, and I never feel anyone's going to judge me by what I'm asking. And I am, particularly as a person, me personally, I'm very sensitive, and I try and be sensitive to other people's things. I will tell you, when we had on this wonderful nurse, she works out of San Antonio, Texas, and she works with people that are getting their gender assignment.
Yes, I was watching that. Yes.
Yeah, Holly what's Holly's last name, Stephen? Do you remember?
Lorca.
Holly Lorca.
Holly Lorca. I want to say her name because she was just so terrific. And this is an aside. Holly Lorca has a background in stand-up comedy.
Oh.
And the nurse. And for what she does, you really need it.
You need a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
You do. When you think about what is happening to people, this is huge on both a physical and an emotional level. And there they have amazing Nurse Holly. But I was a little apprehensive that I was going to ask, because what was great about Holly, she really talked about what the surgery is. And people shy away from that. I talk with Simone on our board all the time about the surgeries, because I feel I need to know these things because people ask me, and I want to be an informed human being,
right.
But I was afraid that I would ask a dumb question from Holly when I was really asking from curiosity. But she was so cool, and she was terrific, really, really. And people learned a lot. They learned a lot that night.
I think it's great to be informed about those things. One thing that I don't like is people who want to know exactly what is going on down there with they've asked me about friends who are transgender, have they had the surgery, and I'm like, well, it's none of your business.
Right.
Whatever, it's like, unless you're going to be in a relationship with that person, it's like, you don't know what's, underneath my dress. Why would you, even broach that question?
It baffles me. I get it. I mean, Simone, who I love dearly. I mean, she will be introduced to people who might be new to the center. And this could be, even in the LGBT community, somebody's first exposure to someone trans. And so they come to me and they start whispering these questions. And it's like, and then inevitably, well, has she had a surgery? And I'm like, well, that's really not for me to.
Right.
And it's probably not for you to ask her either.
Exactly.
Simone's wonderful because Simone will walk up to practically anyone. And in the conversation, if you have any questions for me, I am happy to answer them. So she is somebody who is willing to open herself up so people can ask those questions. But she's the exception to the rule. She's not the rule, and we shouldn't be asking about people's anatomy. It's ridiculous.
Like I have a friend who's transitioning, and we were talking on the phone, and she was telling me some things about the surgery, and and I said to her, I just want you to know I'm very honored that you're comfortable enough to discuss any of this with me, and I just want you to know I would never ever discuss it with anyone else. And she was like, well, you're a close friend. I just want you to know if if I'm having a problem like with an infection or something or what, I want to be able to talk to you about it because we're friends. And I was just very touched that she was trusted me that much and was comfortable enough with me to feel like she could share that.
Exactly, but the two of you have a relationship. You're
exactly,
friends, and you were nothing but supportive.
Right.
To Stephen's point, and it bothers me. Of course, people ask me about that, or because they know where I am in the organization and where I am in the LGBTQ world. I'm constantly getting asked about this one or that one, but I do my best to make a general response about just in general borders that we all need to have with this, and not to be asking people their personal business. Don't be asking me what's going on down here. I'll find out, tell somebody that. It's none of their business. We don't. Right. And we need to actually have a protocol. We're talking about pronouns here. We need a protocol for this as well, that people, and maybe in all of our organizations, right? In TriVersity, also, Toni, you in the Imperial Court, right? We should have a protocol. People know is okay, and I think that is really important to do.
Protocol. Absolutely. Don't talk about people's junk if you don't know them.
Right.
There you go.
That's a T-shirt.
I know, and and I've gotten the questions asked to me from people that are themselves part of the LGBTQ plus community, and I'm just like, seriously? Seriously? I mean, you could almost expect if it was somebody who wasn't part of the community asking, but like if you're within the community. Right. And you're asking, I'm just like, really?
LGBs, I have learned, can be some of the most frustrating people in the world when it comes to taking the time to learn about the others in our alliance.
Very true.
And I mean, it's fine to be ignorant. If you've never encountered something, that's fine. But I mean, some people are just ignorant and mean about it. And that's less acceptable.
Very, very true. Very true. So let me also ask you, what would you pick as like so far in the episodes that you've done? What would each of you pick as like the best moment that you've had on the show?
I would say we interviewed an attorney in New Jersey, Cara Parmigiani.
Right.
This was on National Coming Out Day. And I asked Cara, I said, what would you say to someone who's coming out to you for the first time or thinking about coming out? And her response, which I can't quote or anything, I mean, almost made me tear up. It was so beautiful. And I mean, it just made the interview incredible. And I mean, brilliant. And from a brilliant person, she gave this brilliant statement about it's okay. That was basically her overarching theme, but what she said was beautiful.
She was wonderful. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, Stephen, it was your two friends from California with their two adopted sons, and talking about they had adopted a child previously that they lost through the foster to adopt program. So they had already been through it. And here we have, they not only go through it again, they adopt one child and then find out that child has a brother, and they didn't have very much time to think and to take the brother, and the telling of the story and the abuse that the children had gone through. I mean, it's very hard for me even now to talk about it. And I think the reason I love doing our show so much is because we do have those magical moments. We go there with people. You know, it's not superficial. We go to people's emotional base, and they feel they can come on and they can talk with us about this stuff. And how else is that going to get out there? You know, recently we were talking about a law passed where same-sex couples cannot, adopt a child. We just talked about that. And my mind immediately went to, you know, these two amazing dads that were on our show prior. We need to have this information out there. Yes, people can read it in the paper. Yes, they may hear about it a blip on the news. But you know what? When they're in a format like this talk show format with real people doing this, we're not doing multi-million-dollar Hollywood productions. I'm not Ellen DeGeneres. All right? Neither are you, Tony, or you, Stephen. Right.
I have much nicer hair.
Right. We are real people doing something real and sharing information that I believe everyone can connect to. I think it's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you, where do you see the future of TriVersity Talk going?
Oh my gosh.
Which one of us do you want to take that?
I mean, you know, my dream is to, you know, get a much broader audience for TriVersity Talk, because you know, even when we do interview local guests, I think the topics we cover are very global. So I'd love to get more viewership and, you know, continue doing what we're doing. I think we're doing well, and I'm learning a lot as I go. It's like, you know, if I sat and watched my interviews, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm becoming a little more of an interviewer now. So to continue growing as a host is another goal of mine.
And you, Wendy?
Mama has big dreams, of course.
Of course.
I have really great PR representation, World Star Media, Jimmy Starr, and the brilliant Eileen Shapiro. And I feel that our show is a show that's very much needed. Not because Stephen and I are doing it, because what is happening on that show is extremely organic and needs to be out there. And I would like distribution on that show on a large level. Just because of the information that we share. We love getting the guests. You know, you have to love this, as you know, Tony. You're doing
Absolutely.
it. You have to love it, and it can't be. It can't be rote. Every person that comes on, I am truly interested in what they have to say, and those moments are magical for me. And this is coming from a girl who only ever did live things. You know, if I was taped, it was on a big show or something. Now I'm on this screen, this little screen, right?
Right.
And this doesn't translate for a number of the other hosts that I know, but it translates real good for me. And I don't even know how, but it's a good medium. And I want to get these messages out there. Look, we're having our elections, or while we are here right now, votes are being counted. All right. All three of us can really make a big difference in our talk shows out there. Okay. To me, this is the new way. So way to go.
Absolutely.
May the force be with all of us.
May the force be with all of us. I know. So for everyone who is watching, tell them, where can they find more information about the TriVersity Center? Where can they find TriVersity Talk? And where can they find both of you?
Well, I'll do the TriVersity part.
Okay.
So the easiest thing to do, I go to www.triversitycenter.org. That will ultimately get you to our Facebook page, and I hope our YouTube page, though I haven't updated the website for a while, I will admit. But on Facebook, go to facebook.com/TriVersity Center. On YouTube, we don't have enough subscribers to get our own domain name yet, so just go to
I just got that.
I am so jealous. But go to YouTube and search TriVersity Center, and
TriVersity Center. Yes, that's on YouTube. And Wendy.
You can find me at a gay bar anytime. It's hard during COVID, although I have been to Stonewall and Julius. I've gone to Panchia. I do my best to support our community. But I'm going to go to TriVersity and tell you, I'm going to pick up on what Steven said. Please subscribe to TriVersity Center on YouTube. As Steven says, smash that button. We want you to smash that button. If you want to know more about me, Wendy Stewart TV on YouTube. It's got my cooking show, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, which Alexis Flame is going to be on next week. It also has
if I don't plug that, I'm a dead woman.
Oh yeah.
Let me just tell you.
Believe me, you do not want to cross that one's path, as you know.
I know. I've lived to tell the tale. It will not be pretty.
So Pandemic Cooking with Wendy is on my YouTube channel, Wendy Stewart TV. My TriVersity Talk, I also share the link from TriVersity Center on Wendy Stewart TV. If anyone wants to reach out on Facebook, Wendy Stewart. On Instagram, it's named after my book, She's the Last Model Standing. You can find my book on Amazon, She's the Last Model Standing. Let's see, social media. My films are visual journeys, our stories. Alan and I had a good piece of information today. Stephen, I didn't even get to share this with you. Fragile Beauty, which is about disappearing tribal people in the Omo Valley in Ethiopia, was selected as a choice for the London International Film Festival.
Oh, congratulations.
Which is really exciting. It's online, but we're very excited about that. But yeah, you know what? I'm all over the place. You can, and Nugget, you can find
Nugget.
Mama.
Oh.
Look, he's still intact. I didn't neuter him. And for anyone who's watching,
didn't we agree not to talk about
Nuggets niblets?
We know the person.
Oh my God, I was inappropriate. Anyway.
All's forgiven. All's forgiven.
Thank you, Lovey.
Well, I want to thank both of you so much for coming on, and of course, TriVersity Talk. It streams live on Facebook and YouTube Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So, absolutely. So, if you love Talking Tony, you're gonna love TriVersity Talk.
Oh, I love that.
So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, especially both shows have a beautiful blonde. So, and a very handsome brunette. Well, yours has a very handsome brunette.
Right.
He's adorable. Steven's adorable. Steven is adorable.
Yeah.
He's so cute, isn't he?
So I want to thank you both for being my guests. You were terrific. I love TriVersity Talk. I think what you both
thank you
is so
we're
wonderful.
Excited. I really want to thank you, Tony. It was so much fun. I knew it would be, but I had such a good time here with you and Stephen and me. And right, we could relax, Stephen.
That's right.
Yeah, I know. This is fantastic.
And Stephen had more leg room.
Stephen, no, because we're under this tiny little desk. When people they see us from the waist up, they don't see
it like this where I'm
our knees.
Well, thank you both so much, and I want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight for Talking Tony. I will be back in 2 weeks, November 19th. My very special guest is my very, very dear friend, Ashley Jade, aka AJ Bellafiore, who is the CEO of Chaotic Cosmetics, which is blowing up on TikTok. I remember when she first started, she just had one little palette, and I had one of the first ones, and now she's gone global. It's amazing. So that will be in 2 weeks' time. And of course, next Thursday, catch me on Naughty or Nice on Facebook
Nice.
with Alexis Flame, when our guest will be Andres Fabian, and also doing a surprise guest appearance will be Lester Blum. Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and please, everyone, continue to stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Twilly-dilly-dee, 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 tweet, 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 tweet.
She talks to the people all night long, chatting and a gabbing and a singing her song. All the divas down on Rainbow Street love to hear Toni go tweet, tweet, tweet. Talking Toni,
Tweet, tweet,
talk, talking Toni.
tweet, twilly-dee.
Oh, talking Toni, gonna talk tonight.